Justice, what are you hoping to come out of this trip? Because this is a 3 day trip. It's going to be meetings with Pentagon, not only in the White House, etc. What do you expect on the defense front? Maybe there's more hope on that front.
Well, yes, maybe we'll get some more military aid, but that will not really be much. Uh, I think the trip is just uh, to tell Trump don't push us too much because I think he has a base. Before it was 10% on everybody, now it's more or less 20%. But this is just temporary because at the end of the day, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. What will happen here is everybody will agree, okay, let's trade among ourselves, tariff free, and then let's deal with Trump. Whatever he wants, we'll put him last. So that will be the situation if Trump insists on all of these tariffs.
Obviously, he has his own domestic policy. Parang almost ideological na kay Trump to, no? Parang use tariff as basically as a weapon of national interest protection and all of that. Now, kahapon nag-tweet si Elbridge Colby, the US Undersecretary for Policy Planning at the Pentagon. Sabi niya, our allies have an interest in the US re-strengthening its industrial manufacturing basis because it has implications for America's military capability, right? If kung mahina industries ng US, they don't have a strong military, they cannot build new ships, they cannot help allies. What is your sense? So, what is the ideal way by which parang I help you, help me, parang ganon? Is there a way we can help each other to both? Because the Philippines doesn't even have a manufacturing base to begin with. At least the US is a declining one. They just need to revive it.
Well, the free world has been buying a lot of arms from the US, and Canada has huge orders of the F-35. But because of the tariff war, Canada is thinking of buying from Europe. So I think this is self-inflicted wound on the part of the US, and uh, uh, the, the 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 traditional buyers of arms from the US uh, are looking for to buy their military hardware outside of the US because of these tariffs. I mean, they could get better terms from other countries. So I really don't know the rationale of this imposing a tariff on the rest of the world. And it's not only the military, the military industry of the US. Their farmers are suffering
Right.
because Brazil, all the rest of the world, Brazil and Canada are now selling soybeans, corn to China. And Egypt is buying from Brazil, India is buying from Brazil and Canada. So the American farmers are losing out.
So it's distorting trade patterns and destroying potential trade export destinations, right? For American farmers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and even the oil. The U.S. Exports a lot of oil and gas, and the traditional buyers are shifting
Yeah.
because of this tariff war. So it's boomerang. It has boomerang on them, and if you don't
Right.
correct it right away, all these contracts are long term. It will take some time to turn it around again. So Trump cannot prolong this further because, like for example, China has entered into long-term contracts with Canada and Brazil for corn, for soybeans. And what happens now to the U.S. farmers in the meantime? All their soybeans and corn are rotting now.
Um, Justice, what some critics found even more alarming is using the tariffs to also impose a certain position on domestic situation. So you can think about the trial of Netanyahu and also Bolsonaro in Brazil. So, and obviously it
Yes,
backfired because in the case of Brazil, I mean, Lula really came out strong and fired back that you're not going to impose on us what we're going to do domestically with domestic issues. I mean, isn't that quite alarming that now tariff will be
very alarming.
yeah, I mean, you can imagine what if, let's say, Trump likes this person X in Philippines. Oy, parang gusto ko si Boy Kilay. Ay, sorry. Gusto ko si Cheese. Wag niyong ano yun si Cheese. Otherwise, ibibigyan ko ng tatlong beses na tariff. I mean, like, that could go in some wild directions, right, Justice?
Yeah, it's and I think because under U.S. law, uh, the tariff should be based on for economic reasons. But Trump is using the tariff to secure a political uh, 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 action from Brazil. He wants the cases against Bolsonaro to be dropped. It's way out of this world. That's not trade anymore. So I think, and that will have an impact because the constitutionality of the action of Trump is now pending in the higher courts in the U.S. It will reach the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's precisely the issue. That this is an overreach. Trump is acting beyond his powers, and this is really beyond his powers. You cannot use tariff to force another country to drop a case against their own president. So this
Right.
is going to boomerang on Trump. I'm sure the those who are questioning the constitutionality of his uh, tariff policy will use this example.
Yun nga eh. Although the Supreme Court has been giving him a lot of power recently, right?
Yes, that's the other thing. Because we have a rightist Supreme Court in the U.S. now, but I think this one is too much. I mean, they cannot justify that kind of tariff that he's imposing a 50% tariff on Brazil unless Brazil withdraws the case against Bolsonaro. I mean, Brazil will never do that.
So kanina nagalit yung mga Pink kasi minention natin yung event niya na wala si ano. Tapos nagalit mga DDS kasi ngayon naman nagagalit yung mga MAGA sa atin, Justice Carpio. Bakit tayo daw ganito? Ang dami natin inaaway. Now, last part, para magalit naman ng mga loyalists sa atin, Justice Carpio, what do you expect and what do you want to see from the State of the Nation address next week when our wonderful president will be back in the country?
Well, first of all, I've been trying to convince our government that we should file a second arbitration case in the extended colonial shelf. I hope he announces that yes, we are going to file, because that's we cannot lose in that arbitration. China cannot also win. China will lose because it's too far away from China, more than 350 nautical miles from Hainan, and you can claim only up to 350 nautical miles total. So the three countries, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines, will divide their overlapping claims, but China is out. And so the winners will be Vietnam, the Philippines, and Malaysia, but the only loser will be China. So, and this will more or less solidify our, we trying to look for case where Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines would be together, and this is it.
On
Uh,
the, yeah. What about on the
and uh, and I hope that the president will announce this.
What about on the issue of ICC? Do you think the president, okay, I'll put it this way. Kaya ba ng presidente na wala siyang sasabihin na naman ulit sa ICC issue dahil yung mga Duterte basically are dictating the coordinates of the narrative, 'di ba? Na sila yung biktima, kawawa si Digong, yung matanda inaapi, tinaraydor sila sa Uniteam. So with the president not saying much on the ICC, I mean, I don't know if it's an ostrich strategy, let's just pretend it's not there. Isn't he actually giving the initiative to the other side to dictate the terms of this debate, if I can even call it that way?
Yes, because he said that I cannot intervene in the impeachment proceeding. Okay, we accept that, but the for us to rejoin the ICC is his discretion. He can do it. He can initiate it. Nobody can question that. So I hope he will also say that we will rejoin the ICC, and that will put the DDS majority in the coalition of cheese. They'll have a problem.
Oh.
So
Pero hindi na sila majority kasi
they
ang
will
dami na,
oppose that.
ang
They
dami
will
na.
oppose that.
Pero ang laki na pala yung majority, so hindi na pala majority yung DTS 7. Parang 16 na ba sila or 17? So, I don't know, 7 pala, it's no longer majority. Ang laki pala ng ano, ang galing talaga ni Cheese and Ham. Talaga, ang daming nandun. Si Aimee na lang na wala doon at saka yung mga Macho Boys and Risa. That's an interesting, if we were to believe this one. Now, Justice, what about on the issue of Pogos? Anong development from last year? Because last year, thanks to you and a lot of people, Risa Ontiveros among others, there was a Pogo ban announcement. But we know that the game is evolving, right? Katulad ng pinag-usapan natin sa pork barrel. And then now, this Sabongero issue and this whole gambling crisis in the country. Kanina lang, we were talking with Ronald, and Ronald was saying na may mga kausap siya mga LGU leaders who are worrying about suicide cases increasing among mga kabataan na nag-engage sa gambling. Kasi frictionless, di ba? Boom, 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 boom. Dali maghiram. Tapos next thing you know, estudyante ka pa lang, lubog ka na sa utang ng 1 milyon. I mean, there's no way out of that, right? No one is gonna bail you out. So, nagiging social crisis na ito. What should the president say on the Pogo issue, on the gambling issue? Because, we know there's maraming kumikita dito. So, there's gonna be a lobbying for legal gambling daw. At sabi nga ni Sarah, di ba sabi ni Sarah, she's not against all types of gambling or something like that. Parang medyo weird. So, she's for certain types of... So, what should be the stance on that issue? May continuity ba ang Pogo, Sabongero issue, and gambling? Or do you think these are multifaceted and different issues?
Well, we have a law already on gambling. Like for example, casinos cannot be. You have to be 18 years old and above to enter a casino. So we have to have strict regulations who can engage in gambling. And but the problem is how do you have to find a way to how do you implement that way if it is an online gambling? So unless they find a way to implement that, it's difficult to make that cut off. If you are a minor, you cannot engage in this activity. Because if you are an adult, well, it's difficult also to say that you cannot do it. But how do you now regulate online? That's the big problem.
Gcash lang pwede. Di ba ang Gcash may authorization? Like only verified accounts, I don't know, on Gcash can do it. But Gcash could also put limits on how much you can borrow within a day and spend para hindi ka mag-downward spiral. I mean, in theory, that should be possible, right?
Yeah, that has to be determined how you can really regulate it because right now it's difficult to regulate it. If they can come out with a stricter regulation, maybe they should implement that because when it comes to casinos, the physically you can see the guy who enters, he cannot be a 7-year-old guy, you know. But how do you prevent that in online gaming?
Yeah, tsaka kung nasa casino ka, ang daming mga factors bago ka gumastos, 'di ba? Titingin ng masama yung bouncer sa'yo. O, gusto mo humiram, gusto mo mabugbog mamaya, 'di ba? Like, bibili ka pa ng chips, 'di ba? I mean, there are frictions eh. So they slow down crazy stuff. All the crazy stuff do happen in casinos. But I'm saying, like, yung online, ang dali, 'di ba? Yeah, hiram,
Yeah,
gastos, hiram,
yeah,
gastos. Yeah. Next thing you know, 1 milyon, lubog ka na sa utang.
yeah. And I recall that for casinos, they cannot operate within, let's say, 500 meters from a school. But for online, how do you stop that? Because you're using your cell phone.
Right, exactly.
So
Uh, so Justice, what about the Pogo issue? Anong update since last year when we banned it? What happened on that front?
well, the same issue because the POGOs are saying we do not operate in the Philippines. We operate in foreign markets, but and then they have to present proof that in that foreign market they are allowed to operate. In China, they cannot operate because gambling is totally banned in China. Now, in Malaysia, gambling is allowed, but if you are an operator, why will you base your operations in the Philippines? Because you'll be paying two taxes. You'll be paying a tax to the Philippine government and to the Malaysian government because for you to operate in Malaysia, even if you are outside of Malaysia, but you're getting customers in Malaysia, you will be taxed in Malaysia also. So it doesn't make sense for you to have your headquarters in two places or to have offices in two places. So most of these POGOs who say that they are operating outside, they have clients in customers in Malaysia, they are really engaged in scamming here because there is no reason why they should operate here. It will double their expenses.
Baka diversified portfolio. Pero malaking revenue on gambling in general, no? Justice, so I think this is also going to be a serious fiscal issue for the government. So I hope the president makes the right thing. Last one, Justice. So overall, anong in-expect mo sa SONA and what you want to be there in the SONA, including on this issue, by the way, oh, of course, kanina we started with the line item issue, with pork barrel issue. Earlier this year, pinag-usapan natin ng ayuda issue, PhilHealth issue. What should the president do to reassure people that in the coming budget, that moving forward, that in his legacy years, we're moving in the right direction?
Well, at least in the 2026 proposed budget, they're returning the allocation to PhilHealth, uh, because in the 2025 budget, they gave a zero allocation to PhilHealth. Now they're giving, I think, 52 billion. That's good. Uh, but I think we have not taken a look at the budget for education because in the 2025 budget,
Mas
education,
malaki yung DPWH.
yes, DPWH had a higher budgetary allocation, which is against the Constitution. So we have to examine, because what they did in the 2025 budget, they said that the appropriation for the Philippine Military Academy, for the ILG Academy, to all of this, uh, for TESDA, which is not really educational. This
Tama
is
na lang, kahit ano pwede pang education dyan, di ba?
yung pedicure, manicure, gardening, education.
Oo naman, education
Yun.
yan, Justice.
So, that's ano tawag diyan ano yan skills training na basic that's not
Vocational yan.
what we really want to educate our people now. So they included that budget of the TESDA. So tumaas, no? If you add that, the budget of education will be higher than DPWH. But so we have not yet looked at the present 2026 proposed budget kung ginawa na ulit if they repeated that same practice, no?
Justice, obviously, just to close this discussion, thank you so much again for spending time with us. I know medyo late, so talagang mahal na mahal ka namin just for always giving us your time and energy and insights. Um, Obviously, sunog na yung bridge niya with the DDS core, di ba? There's no way they're gonna forgive BBM. Tapos na yan. Like, the moment na si Digong ay, kung anong mangyari, i-repatriate siya, ilagay siya kung saan, Portugal, whatever. Tapos na yan eh. So, realistically, what is the best way for the president to win over as many Filipinos as possible? What should be the strategy for BBM to be at least a palatable president to the majority of the Filipinos? Medyo nag-improve naman yung satisfaction and trust ratings na, but it's nowhere close to where it should be, at least compared to his two immediate predecessors.
Well, I think the first thing he should do is to uh, remove all the pork in the General Appropriations Act in the budget, because we know that the pork is the primary cause of corruption now in government. Tanggalin niya lahat ng mga pork. And I think the nation will applaud him. Just that, the nation will really applaud him.
That's a very parang mag-vegan na yung ano natin. On that very lofty goal, Justice Carvey, I don't know kung mag-stand yung coalition. Anyway, I don't want to be cynical, but kung ganun ka-cynical ang politika na kung sino-sino na lang pwede mo i-join majority minority, then I don't know, whatever. On that note, Justice Carpio, thank you so much for making us a bit more depressed, but also a little bit more hopeful, a couple of other things. Sana naman next week medyo pleasantly surprised tayo. Maraming salamat, Justice Carpio. Hopefully, we can have you in person ulit with Ronald Llamas and the rest of the gang. Hopefully, after SONA, July 31 or August 1, hopefully you're available in either of those days, Justice.
Sure, anytime. Yeah.
We'd love to have you back again, as
Yeah.
always. Thank you so much, Justice. Have a good evening. Send my regards and talk to you soon, po. God bless.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you to our viewers.
Salamat, sir.